Hey, it's Alex
and Bella
from Let's Not Sugarcoat It, a podcast where each week we bring you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations.
Our guests share their life's journeys in entrepreneurship, relationship, parenthood, and much, much more
in an authentic and raw way where no one sugarcoats life's messes and successes.
Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps, and tune in every Wednesday for new episodes.
Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships in a young woman's life. And therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give our love and support to all the dads and their daughters. If you haven't already, make sure you listen, like, subscribe, and share to our podcast on all of your social media places, your social media pages. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with somebody else. Let someone know that we are on the air and we are here with the podcast. Also, make sure you subscribe. Let me slow down. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. We share a channel with our partner podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. So if you go on YouTube and you look up Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, you will find our channel. And on that channel, you will find not only the playlist of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but also the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And you guys want to make sure that you subscribe there, because not only are those two podcasts there, but we have other podcasts that we will be adding that will be found under that same channel. So make sure you guys go there. Again, that's on YouTube. Just look up the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and you will find that podcast and also the playlist for the Girl Dad Discussion. So make sure that you guys are checking us out. Also, I'm going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast, right? But you got to stay to the end of the episode in order to get that information. But you can win $100 from the podcast. Our next thing is our product of the week. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast, and the way that we pay our bills and stay on the air is by bringing you products and services that you can purchase in order to support us. So our product of the week, which will probably be for a while with the Girl Dad Discussions, is the ebook, The Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. That is an ebook that I wrote. And again, it's called The Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And for those of you who have been following the podcast, you know that we also have a segment where we talk about the core four a little bit at the end of the podcast. So you definitely want to make sure you get your copy. That can be found at ebooksbyejames.com. That's ebooksbyejames.com. We will share that information again later on in the podcast. But definitely that is our product of the week at ebooksbyejames.com. There's also other ebooks there that you can purchase, but our product of the week for this week is the Core Four ebook, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. So thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Dr. TT. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I am well. First of all, let me say thank you for being here. You could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you are here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us who you are and a little bit about what you do.
All right. So name's Dr. TT. I do a lot of things, I would say. Definitely actually work in the healthcare field. That's the doctor. I also write some children's books. I like to call them kind of reflection books on what I wish someone had told me when I was in elementary school. So kind of those life lessons I like to put in there and celebrate both diversity, not just in race and ethnicity, but just even in thought and ability or disability. So that is definitely out there now. And I would say also another thing I do is like I love my community. How in any way I can help and be a help to that community, that's what I like to do.
All right. Well, here on the Girl Dad Discussions, we usually have dads, but we have a daughter today. So do me a favor. What's your dad's name? And tell us a little bit about your father.
Okay. So my dad's name, who's currently up in heaven. That happened I guess it'd be a couple of years ago, May 2022. So his name was Olukayode. So as you can tell, it's not a typical name. My parents are from Nigeria, so they both emigrated to America in 1987. And he didn't just have one of me, he actually had two. So he had twin girls. So that happened. And one thing about my dad, I would say, was it the best relationship in the world? No. But one thing I can appreciate about when he died, and I always tell this joke to everybody, my dad was a pack rat. Like I saw his high school report card and he was 65. So I'm like, Dad, why did you have your high school report card still? But when I was able to see through his wallet and see through his house, he didn't have much up, but what he did have was a picture of me and my sister in his wallet. And the only picture he had up was of his mom and of me and my sister. So that definitely let me know that he did love us. I think there were some things going on in his life that he didn't even know. It's just, being the privilege of being in the field of medicine and being able to pick up on something that's like, oh, I think I know what happened. And maybe some cultural things too, because he was born and raised in Nigeria and now being in America. And we as kids are having experience of the American perspective, but he has that Nigerian culture. I think that also probably caused some misunderstanding communication. But I can definitely say in the last 3 to 5 years in his life, he did definitely try to be better. And I do wish we could have had more time together. But I am definitely grateful that even if he didn't say it or show it, we were definitely loved by him. But I also wanted to change the narrative. That's why this second book is in dedication to him. Because even funny enough, before he died, and I hadn't really talked to him around the time, I knew I wanted a girl dad book. I felt like that was so important. I don't like that narrative where we either have the dad be absent and it's okay. You have this strong woman, which there's nothing wrong with being strong. I consider myself a strong woman, but I think sometimes the biggest strength you can have is to know when you need a compliment, when you need a helper. So that's why I wanted to showcase a book where you're also seeing a male in a fatherly role being celebrated. Not that he's the dork or he's irrelevant, but really is playing a key role in the development of that child's life experience. And that's what I do with this book.
Okay. I do want to talk a little bit more about the books, but before that, I want to go back a little bit because you mentioned about your dad, you and your dad not necessarily having the best relationship, right? And I'm glad that you're open with that, because I always tell my guests one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is not just entertain, but to inform. And the only way that we can inform is to be honest in our stories. Right. And so I have had some dads on who, had some troubles with their relationship with their daughters and things of that nature that they had to work through, and hearing that perspective and also asking them for just advice, like, okay, what would you do now different, or what would you share to the new dads? Right. So my very first guest that I had on the podcast was a brand new dad, number one, a brand new girl dad. I think his daughter was like 2 months at the time when we started the podcast. And I wanted him to be my first guest because he was brand new. And so whenever I have a guest on, I always say, I think about him. So I ask, questions and things like, what would be advice that you could give to him at the beginning of this journey of being a girl dad? And so just taking in consideration that same thought process, as much as you're willing to share, with your dad and the issues that you guys had, what would be something that you would say, had it been done, whether from him or from you, it could have mended the relationship a little bit more, or begin to build the relationship a little bit more, while you guys had the time?
Yeah. So, I mean, to that 2-month-old dad, I would say, because when you talked about that, it reminded me of like my pastor, he has 4 girls, all girls. And those girls, like, I've seen them be from literally birth all the way now. They're in high school. One of them's in college, and they love their dad. Like, they are daddy's girls, every single one of them. And I felt like what was key with that is that he got outside of his comfort zone, because he's also Nigerian. So, like, again, the idea of culture, this is the setup. But he got outside of his comfort zone of what's man's work versus woman's work, and was just like, I'm just going to be the best parent. So, like, typical, like, changing the diaper or getting the kid ready or even cooking. Like, I guess you would say stereotypically that's the mom's role. But if and when he needs to do it, he did it. And I think it's just like that quality time. I think that's why they love him so much. Like, he was just there. It wasn't that, this is my boundary, you can't go beyond it. No, he just made himself available unapologetically. And he did it on his James. Like, there were times he was like, yeah, my guy friends were like, what? You're changing the diapers? Like, yeah, that's my kid. So when you see that and you feel that pride, of course that girl is going to feel like, wow, my dad loves so much, he don't care what anybody's saying about him. He's doing the right thing because he loves me. Like, no girl's going to ever feel that experience and not appreciate that. So I would say that for my dad, I felt like one thing that kind of affected our relationship in the less way was that he would send me cards. And do I appreciate the card? Sure. But it's like it had everybody else's words, and then you just wrote "Love, Dad." So it felt kind of empty. It's like, for me, it's like, if you could have just given me you, just again, like that unapologetic, I want to hear from you, that personalization. I think that would have done a lot to mend some of the issues that we had unfortunately had. So that's why I'm saying, just be unapologetically unavailable. I mean, not unavailable, be apologetically available.
All right. I love that. And that's some great advice. I love it. Let's jump right into, we mentioned about the books. So let's jump right into the first books. You were talking a little bit about them and the concept of it. And again, just going a little bit deeper into that, and then we'll trans over to the second book, because I definitely want to hear a little bit more about the Girl Dad book.
Okay. So the first book, it's called Together to the End, Ife's Incredible Friends. So Ife, in my culture, Ife means love. So that's why I wanted to name her that, because my vision for that character is that through her stories, through her adventures, I'm going to be able to teach kids how to love themselves and how to love others. So putting this girl in the series through different scenarios where it teaches her that. So with that book, I have kids, they get to learn about why we don't stereotype different people. And then also, if someone is getting bullied, how do you stand up and be a good friend to them? Now, one thing I also didn't want the perfect Disney, and they lived all happily ever after, because that's not life. So there's always a little bit of a twist. It's a positive ending, but it's not the perfect ending. Because I wanted the kids to realize that you don't do things because of this perfect ending. You do things because it's the right thing to do. And if there is a good effect from it, great. But if it's not, that does not diminish the good act.
Good. And the Girl Dad book, talk to us a little bit more about that. Like I know you mentioned about the emphasis of the example of the dad being active, but just talk to us a little bit more about that. I just want to hear a little bit more. I'm intrigued.
No problem. So that second book, and we finally finished our writing, and it just needs to go out. So hopefully my goal is by January 15th of this month that it'll be officially out on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and whatever. But this book, Ife and the Reading Rockets, I would have to argue this is actually one of my favorite ones right now. We'll see. It's about these Ife now going to school and learning about how sometimes she can be better than people with reading. And she's learning how do you handle that in a respectful, kind way. But then also learning that there might be people who are better than you in reading. And how does she handle that? And with the dad, I wanted him to play that central role in helping her. So I'll give a little bit of it away. Basically, she's upset, Ife, because she's like, I'm not as good. So what I liked with what I did with this character, I didn't let the dad be like, oh my gosh, no, you're amazing, you're the best, or oh my gosh, why couldn't you be better? I wanted there to be a balance because I wanted him to see her. It's like, first off, don't you understand you're actually improving? And then say that, hey, you're right, this girl is better than you. I'm not going to deny that. But then my favorite thing that this dad says, and that is the key thing, and that's why I wanted it to be a dad's voice. Actually, I'll explain later why I wanted it to be a dad's voice. I have him say, don't compare yourself to others, but compare yourself to the sky. For like it, you are limitless. There is nothing you can't do when you try. And why I wanted him to do that, because I have, am I 33, 34? I don't even know how old I am anymore. But in my years of life, I've noticed a mother in that female role, like we're amazing nurturers. And that is the beauty of being a woman, of being a mother. But I feel like with a man, he knows how to, and you might have to help me with the English with it. It's like he builds you up. Mm-hmm. He speaks life, and he speaks into your future in a sense that he knows how to build you up to be a proper adult. So it's like a mom can literally give you everything to be able to, okay, I know how to say it. A mom helps you get ready to thrive. A dad teaches you how to thrive. There we go. So because like if I'm sickly and whatever, I don't care. You can do all the encouragement you want. I'm not going to be able to do it. But yeah, a male, I think he's able to just be able to speak into this is how you thrive. This is how you move forward. So I wanted him to be able to speak that into her, that you can do it. I'm not going to baby you, but I'm going to challenge you to do it. So that was really important for me, for him to be able to say that. And it kind of was, boo, because like I said, I wrote this book before my dad died, actually. It was one of those, like, I wish my dad had been around more to be able to impact that into my life. So, and it's kind of like, even now that, now he isn't there, I kind of give in memory of him, but just like, I want the fathers that I hope that read it with these kids to be challenged. Like, this is what my kid needs, someone that's going to push them and make them the best them that they can be.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I'm going to use that to kind of transition into the second part of the podcast, which we call the Getting to the Core segment of the podcast. And the reason why it's called is Getting to the Core, because it's kind of based a little bit on the core four, which is the core four values of that every daughter should receive from her father. The ebook that we talked about earlier. But so this is where that comes in at, because as you were speaking, when I thought about the core four, the one word that came to mind, which is one of the four values, is affirmation. And that's what the way I say it is me telling you what you should already know about yourself, right? That you are beautiful, that you are smart, all those affirming things. That this is who you are. I'm not just making it up. You're like, this is who you are. In case you didn't know, this is me speaking into you, that this is who you are. And so when we talk about the core four values are guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. And so those are the four core values that I came up with. And so just listening to those, and even in your own words, of those four values, which one do you believe either will probably be very important that you wanted to hear, or which one do you feel maybe just from your point of view most important for, again, going back to that new father, like, hey, this is one value that I think you definitely want to instill in your daughter?
So can you repeat those four again? Because I want to just, before I say something, I want to make sure I got it right.
Yes. So is guidance is one, affirmation is the second one, love and affection is kind of together, and then the fourth one is protection.
Because what I find interesting about yours, I feel like it's in different stages. So I would say, like, before elementary, maybe protection and affection would be the most important. And then as you're getting older, that guidance and that affirmation now become more dominant. Because I feel like because some of the things I learned from my dad as I was cleaning, and I was just like, oh, we're actually a lot more alike than I thought. So, like, kind of a funny story. I remember when I was looking through his stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, you're you can't throw away anything. Again, I was joking about the high school thing. So then as I'm cleaning stuff, I'm realizing I'm not trying to throw away anything either. Well, so, but then another thing I learned is that he was really, really smart. Like, he had a hunger for learning. So I think, when I was older and I was like, oh, I'm such a nerd, I'm such a geek, I would have liked to have been able to get that affirmation and get that guidance from him. So that's why I feel like I would have liked that more when I was in my 20s and my 30s versus when I was telling you about the cards. Like, yes, you sent cards, that's cute, but you didn't send, like, it wasn't personal. I would have preferred, even if it was like, hey, Taiwo, this is Dad, I really miss you, just want to let you know I'm thinking of you. I would have loved that more than that fancy Hallmark card that you got me. And then you put like 10, 20 bucks, like, you care less for the money, just wanted you. So I feel like that's where, when I was younger, that love and affection thing. So it's hard for me to pick one, but that's what I'm saying, because I feel like it's kind of a timeline. Yeah,
no, I think that's good. And that's the first time that I've heard that perspective since we've been doing this. And that's great. Because it is really, all four is important at every stage, so it's, as we go through our stages, one may be more stronger than the other. And that's why I always ask, my guests, what is your personal experience with it. And like I said, I have other dads on and asking the same question, because one thing that I've learned, and again, this when I wrote this book, it didn't just come, out of the air. So it came from, number one, me being a brother, right? I have 5 sisters, and my being able to watch my dad pour into these 5 different young girls, different ages, and even different personalities, and watching him as he worked, as he raised them, and also having a daughter of my own. What is my values that I want to pour into her? And that kind of was the premise of it, where these values came from. And so and I just realized that at every age, that because some of my sisters are older, some of my sisters are younger than me, and then raising my daughter is like, we never stop needing it. It's like, even as adult women now, my sisters, is like they still need it. And the shift changes a little bit, right, from where they receive the full amount from, because in my experience, like, especially once you get married, you still need those same values to be poured into you, but now you're looking to receive it from your mate instead of from your father. You're receiving it from your father, but now more important, like we said, when you ask for when a man asks for another man's daughter, it's like, okay, you're asking for the responsibility of my daughter. So now it's your responsibility to pour these same values, into my daughter. So last question, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. So it's the 4 core values, and again, these are the core values that I thought was important. But if there could be a 5th value that you could add, what would that 5th value be?
I would say, because I was actually thinking about that, I thought that was going to be the next question. I would want to say innovation or vision, because I think I think that's why, unfortunately, you see in the media and I want to say this stereotype, like this girl is lost because they don't have a dad. So, but there are plenty of girls that I've seen that they were in 2 family homes and they were still lost. So it's like them instilling a vision that they are meant, or maybe a mission. They are meant to do something great in this world. Because I feel like when you have that helps you not be like, oh, I'm going to go and do A, B, C, and D. Because it's like, oh, no, that's going to deviate from my mission. So I think that is something I would invite to. Like, you're important. It's not just you're important because you're special and daddy's little princess, but you're important because you're going to contribute into the world. So
I love it. Dr. T, I want you to have the first of all, thank you for being on. I definitely appreciate having you as a guest, and I want you to have the last word. So I want you to leave our listeners with word of advice, information, inspiration, however you feel. But I want you to have the last word, and I also want you to leave us with your social media handles and where we can find you, to follow you, as well as to purchase the books, where we can look in order to find that. So I'll give you a couple seconds to kind of think about that, because I don't want to drop all that on you at one time. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for joining in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure that you guys are following us on our websites, right? So we have the dealhealfulfill.org, which is my main website, where you can find more about me as a speaker, as a presenter, as a podcaster, and even look into booking me to come out to talk to your students, staff, organizations, however you see fit. And you can go there and find more information about just our movement as a whole, the dealhealfulfill.org. Also, check us out at Deal to Heal Tees, which is Deal, the number 2, Heal Tees, Deal to Heal Tees, which is our inspirational t-shirt line. So put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. So make sure you guys go there. Deal, the number 2, Heal Tees, Deal to Heal Tees.com for our inspirational tees. And go to ebooksbyejames.com, where you can find the ebooks that we have available, including the core four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. But we didn't forget about the sons. There was also an ebook there called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring book for young men that's making that transition into young adults. And there's also some other ebooks there that you guys can check out. Again, that's ebooks by ejames.com, because I am E. James, made it real simple so that you guys could find it, right? So also make sure that you guys subscribe to our text line by texting the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text messages about new episodes, ebook releases, event information, all the information that we can, that's going on with us coming right to your phone. Again, subscribe to our text line. Another thing that I want to talk to you guys about is I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And one of the things that we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. So whenever you're listening to this, either one just ended or there's one coming up. So you can always register. Again, it's a free virtual workshop talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, who is forgiveness meant for, and what it accomplishes in your life. And I think it's a very vital and very valuable information that we give out there. So make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com to register for our next virtual online free workshop, or you can just go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Mission course, and you should be able to find us there. Last but not least, I told you guys that I would tell you how you could win $100 from the podcast. You can win $100 from the podcast by joining our super subscriber contest. What you must do, you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. Then text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win the $100. The contest is random and it's ongoing, which means once you're in, you can always win. You don't never have to re-up. You could just, once you enter the contest, from here on out, you can always have the chance to be our next $100 listener. Yes, I think that's it. That is all I got. Yeah, I think that's it. So you guys can win. Again, Dr. T, I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your gifts with us. I look forward to the books coming out and receiving them for myself. So again, thank you so much for taking out the time to be with us today. And so I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
All right, no problem. So first off, thank you very much. I believe I sent you some of the pictures and sneak peeks beforehand, so definitely check those out. I did want to say for the dads one, for you all to be on this podcast in the first place shows that you take being a dad seriously. So I applaud you. But I will also like to, speaking as a grown girl dad, or I guess daughter of a dad, whatever. I wanted to inspire you all to realize that being a dad's not just because you were capable of having a child, but it's because you said you were stepped up for a lifelong commitment for that child. And like I said before, it's about being just unapologetically available, not spoiling them, but challenging them that they are capable of doing their best selves, but they can't be able to figure that out if you're not there to see it, if you're not there taking that time to understand what their best self is. And one thing that I found interesting, because another friend of mine who is a huge girl dad, she noticed that when she was younger, it felt like he was a lot more stern, but as she got older, he was able to now bond with her more. And I feel like that's the interesting thing with being a dad. I feel like a woman, you're literally tied to them from the umbilical cord. And as that child grows, their dependency on their mom kind of goes away. But I think men get so scared of it. It's like, well, you need mom more, maybe I should step back. I would say that do not step back, step up. Because you'll be surprised. It's now when they become in their 20s, their 30s, they're really going to start shifting towards you. But they can't if you haven't started with a good foundation relationship. So that's why I say be unapologetically available. That's why I bring that up, because you're literally investing into that relationship you want to enjoy when they get older. So definitely use my book. I hope Defend the Reading Rockets. It definitely does a good job of showcasing that, and it would be a great bonding time for you to be with your child, because certain things like, oh, someone is better at school than me, that might be a way for you to open up and really instill and impact positive words that can help them be their best self in school and even outside of school. So thank you once again for having me.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Where can they find you and follow you on your social media?
That's right. So social media, I'm on Instagram, so it'll be Dr. TT89. On Facebook, is Ife's Books by Dr. TT. And I also do have a Linktree account. So Linktree and then just Dr. TT Books.
All right. We can't end it no better than that. Definitely inspiring words from Dr. TT. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where we believe that the relationship between the dad and his daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life. And therefore, we aim to voice the voices of girl dads and daughters to the world. So thank you guys once again for tuning in. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else, that the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.
Dads. Being a dad is the most rewarding and most exhausting responsibility you have. In the whirlwind of life, you have so many things that demand your attention. Sometimes making memories with your kids takes a back seat. But it doesn't have to be that way. Join me, Aaron, a dad of 4 kids, on the Dad Ventures podcast, where we dive deep on the adventure of a literal lifetime, being a dad. We'll explore science-backed parenting strategies, review books and gear, and interview parenting experts with a special emphasis on being a dad. At Dad Ventures, we champion and celebrate dads and the unique value they pour into their kids. New episodes are live every Friday. Head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and find the Dad Ventures podcast, or go to adventures.dad and tap the podcast link at the top of the page.